Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Reed, and welcome to Storytime. Today, we're going to be reading some I Don't Work Here Lady stories, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Second time the skincare section of TJ Maxx gets me in trouble. So I love digging around the shelves at TJ Maxx. If you aren't familiar, it's a out-of-season and overstocked store that sells expensive brands for huge discounts. Their skincare shelves are to die for, and you often find neat things there, but it's super unorganized and all over the place. There aren't rows of product, mostly just random boxes and bottles on the shelves all mixed together. Well, I go so much I started this thing where once I took out a box and read the ingredients and stuff, I put it back in an organized way. I've spent over an hour in a 4x4 foot section of this store in the past. Well, I'm doing my thing, and I admit it, looked like I was organizing the shelves, and the employees do wear nice clothes but not a uniform. And this older lady comes over to me. We will call her Bev. Bev, excuse me, can you help me read this small print? I can't read it without my glasses. She shoves a night mask in a tub into my hands. I think she's just asking for help. I read it to her. That's not what I want. Do you have anything to help with under eye? Now it's dawned on me that she thinks I work there. But I'm awkward and I just went with it. At this point, I knew most of the products on the shelf and helped her pick out a couple of things. I'm 28, not quite to the point of using anti-aging things, but she was much older and really looking for some heavy-duty stuff. I remembered a much older and beautiful woman from my old work swearing by Estee Lauder's skin stuff, so I recommended the couple things I saw of it to her. She was very thankful, but fairly high maintenance. I probably spent a good 20 minutes with her before she said thank you and took her bundle to a different section of the store. I was running late at this point, so I gave up on the skincare, grabbed my new hairdryer off the ground where I left it to browse, and went to check out. About 2 people behind me, Bev gets in line and glances at me, and then does a double take with super wide eyes. I'm so sorry, I thought you worked here earlier. I just laughed. No, that's okay. I spent enough time in the skincare section. I hope you like the creams we picked out. It wasn't a negative or a Karen exchange, it was just a case of I don't work here lady. Oh, so wholesome and sweet. I love the little old ladies that are nice and not full Karens. Almost got fired from the grocery store. I was a fine dining server at the time. My usual outfit on the way home was a white shirt, black pants, and shoes. Very professional looking. I would usually go get groceries after shift, and fairly often someone would ask me directions, and me being customer service oriented would usually help them out. I was pretty familiar with the store at that point, so it was never a big deal. One night, an elderly gentleman asked for a very obscure item, and I had no idea where to look, and told him so and continued on my way. Well, he got the angriest look on his face and stormed off down the aisle. Fair enough, I continued shopping. A few minutes later, he appears shouting, "That's the guy right there!" to who I can only presume was the store manager. He looks at me confused and I shrug my shoulders. The manager then tries to explain that I'm just a dude shopping and he can't really berate me for anything. The old fellow looked like his whole world collapsed in on him. His crushed look still makes me smile. So we got the sweet old lady in one story and the angry old man in the other story. They're clashing. They're fighting. How will this day end up? Will we have more horror stories, or will we have more sweet stories? Probably the former. I don't care if you don't work here. Find me that soy sauce. So I was at a convenience shop where I live called One Stop buying some milk, wearing a black polo top and black jeans as I'd just come back from a work trial. I didn't get the job, sadly. The shop had rearranged all the shelves, so it took a little while for me to find the freezer section. Before I found it, a shortish man who looked about in his 50s came over to me slurring his words, so I thought he was drunk and talking to himself, so I ignored him. He shouted, "Oi, you listening?" So I turned back to him, not wanting to be rude, and said, "Pardon?" I didn't understand him again, so I just kind of laughed nervously and started walking away, or at least tried to. This seemed to have ticked him off. Gonna call him DG, drunk guy. "Oi, you listening? Where the freak you going?" "I'm just finding the milk." "Why the freak are you looking for milk? I asked for soy sauce." Took me a while to decipher that, but I eventually got it. "I don't know where that is," I said awkwardly. I didn't really know what to do in the situation. I'm really bad with confrontations. Ask someone for help. "What the freak do you think I'm doing? Get it for me." I don't work here," after realizing my appearance made it seem like I'm an employee. "I don't freaking care, just get it!" At this point, he was slurring so much that it was impossible to understand what he was shouting, so I assumed he was swearing a little more. I asked him to leave me alone, and that's when he lunged for me. Now, me being socially awkward and just wanting to go home, I backed away immediately. One of the shop employees eventually came over and told him to leave after seeing him try to grab me. Apparently, this wasn't the first time he'd come into the shop drunk and screaming at people. I was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. I bought the milk and walked super fast home, hoping he didn't follow me. And OP had just enough time to finish this story before a drunk 50-year-old man kicked in his door and took him out. Please seat us. Cast: me, the nice guy in G, and nice woman in W. So I was on a business trip in Newcastle about half a year ago. My workmates and I went out for a meal and a few drinks after work. As I am a smoker, I went outside for a smoke. Now, being raised in Oxford, I am overly polite. When a couple entered, I said, "Good afternoon." Nice guy: "Table for two, please." Me: "Sorry, mate, I don't work here." "But you look like you work here." I looked at the waiting staff, seeing that they wore black shirts and smart black trousers. I was wearing a black shirt and black jeans. Important note, I was several drinks in at this point. "Mate, I have a cigarette in my mouth and I'm down at least one bottle of wine. You best hope I don't work here." "Oh, I'm sorry." He was really polite. After my workmates and I were ready to leave, I looked around to see what the couple was up to and approached them. In my best customer service voice, I said, "Is everything okay with your meal?" They both laughed, finding the funny side. Honestly, that might be the best way to diffuse a situation. "Mate, I have a cigarette in my mouth and I'm down at least one bottle of wine. You best hope I don't work here." I feel like that could get you out of a lot of situations. Am I the baddie? Okay, I admit, I probably am the bad guy here, but here's the story. Back in the 90s, I worked for a large heartless telecom company that will remain nameless. This doesn't involve them directly, but their corporate uniform was polo shirt with khaki pants. Color wasn't specified, but my favorite color back then was red. Well, the corporate campus was right next to the large retailer with a circular logo. You can probably see where this is going. During my lunch breaks, I would go shopping for whatever. The discount shelves were a treasure trove of cheap items, so I always went there looking for bargains. After about my 500th instance of "I don't work here," I finally decided to have some fun with it, especially during the holiday shopping season. When a customer would come up to me asking where they could find the new model turn-up twaddler, I would invariably and with great confidence say, "It's over there." There being the farthest opposite corner of the building. Keep in mind this was their flagship store, roughly twice the size of the average store. There was a good 5-minute walk. I always made a point to head to the exit though after doing this. I kind of feel bad about this now, but in my defense, most of these people could really use the exercise. OP, you got nothing to worry about. I know this guy at work, and he used to buy the cheap Dollar Tree dollar store knockoff brand Pokemon cards and then trade them to his unsuspecting friends, telling them they were limited edition and that's why they look different. Now that guy should feel bad, not you, OP. Sir, I'm sorry, I don't speak French. Found this sub today and just remembered that I do, in fact, have a story to share. This happened about 7 years ago, so my memory of the event is a little hazy. So, some backstory. At the tender age of 13, I developed cancer. All good now, though. And had the chance to make a wish with the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Who'd have guessed? This is relevant. My wish ended up being to go to Disneyland Paris, which was fulfilled almost a full year later when I was 14. Now, as I was there to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, I had to wear a lanyard that acted like a fast pass / VIP sort of deal. I was fairly tall for a 14-year-old girl, 5 foot 7 inches or taller, I don't remember. And since I was still recovering, I was still a little emaciated, which meant that my defined jawline was sticking out, making me look older. Now, the event didn't happen until the last day when my parents, siblings, and I had gone into the gift shop. I was wearing my lanyard and some fairly plain clothes. As I was browsing for a souvenir, a sort of harried-looking man came up to me and hits me with some rapid-fire French, all whilst I was very bewildered. He clearly wanted to know where something was, but unfortunately I didn't work there, and I couldn't understand him. My poor 14-year-old self had to say in slow, sort of broken French, pardon, je ne parle pas français? Which I barely remembered from French lessons I had in the past. He got the hint, and I think he apologized before wandering off. Years later, it still baffles me, but I feel like it was the lanyard that did it. I checked the comment section on Reddit, and it turns out OP is fully cured! Now that is amazing. Congrats, OP. Mom thinks I work at Abercrombie. With the beginning of this story, I might as well add some context. I'm a 20-year-old kid with no sense in fashion. I'm not even sure how this story happened. I was traveling south with some friends to a mall. 3 of my friends were going to a concert, so they invited a group of us to spend the day with them in Columbus and just have a good time. The day went off without anything interesting happening, except me getting in a scooter accident and cutting up my arms and legs. Trust me, this is relevant. After we got lunch and start to split up, we decide to head to Polaris Mall. Now, for those who live in my state, Ohio, if you don't know about Polaris Mall, it's a 2-story mall with loads of shops. Being from a small town, I'm not used to this, so this is an awesome experience for me. We headed to this mall because the 2 friends I went with were celebrating one of my buddy's birthdays. Let's call him M. M and his girlfriend S were letting me tag along and crack jokes with them while we searched for a gift for M's birthday. We stopped at an Abercrombie, and this is where the story happens. As I said, I'm a 20-year-old with no sense of fashion, so I was wearing a Queen Anne's Revenge shirt, the flag of Blackbeard, with a pair of shorts with some sandals. When I'm standing at the back of the store with S, I feel a tap on my shoulder. His mom is standing behind me with her daughter in tow, asking me where to find a certain top and what time the store closed. Now, being in an unfamiliar environment and having some strange woman ask me questions, I took a second to respond. Nah, I actually have no idea. I don't work here. She looked kind of bewildered, but I'm assuming so did I. She just stood slack-jawed and walked away. I later saw this woman talking to her daughter, and before we left the shop, the mom came over to apologize for the awkwardness. I felt bad for the daughter because I knew she was just adding to the weird vibe. Now, I told you about the scooter accident because here I am, a kid not in uniform with no name tag, not even wearing any socks, with cuts covering the left half of my body. To this day, it shocks me how she thought I worked there. Thank you all for reading. Sorry this probably sucks. This is my first time ever recounting a story for Reddit. I know it's short, but I hope you enjoyed. If it's so short, why is the Reddit tag XL? Well, that's all the stories we have for today. If you liked what you heard, subscribe for more content. Thanks for listening and have the most amazing day. Goodbye.